The Willows is a 2 1/2-story timber-framed Gothic Revival-style house built in 1854 for Joseph Warren Revere. Revere, a grandson of Paul Revere of Revolutionary War fame, was born in Boston, Massachusetts in 1812. If his autobiography can be trusted, his naval career of nearly a quarter of a century included adventures that stretched from Bombay to Singapore, with stops in Algiers, Spain, France, and Sumatra. His exploits involved rescues at sea, buried treasure, piracy, the slave trade, a meeting with Tsar Nicholas, and innumerable narrow escapes. In 1852, Revere was ready to settle down with his family and purchased 88 acres of land approximately 1 mile west of Morristown. According to the 1851 property advertisement, there is upon it an excellent 2-story dwelling house with kitchen attached, good barn, cow house, wagon house, and other outbuildings. However, the house mentioned was not the Willows, but the original farmhouse built in the early 1770s. According to documents within the collection, the Revere family first made do with the old farmhouse on the property, but on August 4, 1854, Revere contracted with Chatham master builder Ashfeld Bruin for a new house to be constructed on a hill overlooking the farm for a fee of $7,125.15. The Willows is particularly significant as an example of the Gothic Revival style fashionable in the mid-19th century and largely promoted through pattern books. The design of the Willows can be traced to English-trained architect Gervase Wheeler, who published a pattern book titled Rural Homes in 1852 that included a plan and elevation, seen here, for a house very like the one that would become the Willows. The form of the exterior of the house is important as it mimics the important features of the Wheeler design and shows how published sources were used in the 19th century to create architecture in new styles. Revere and his family lived in the Willows until 1872. At this time, he apparently became too ill to manage the estate and moved into Morristown with his wife and 2 surviving children. Thus began a period of about 10 years where the Reveres rented out the Willows and surrounding property. The identity of the last tenant is well established. On March 28, 1878, Revere signed the first of 3 leases with Charles Grant Foster. Charles Foster was born in Hartford, Connecticut in 1842. He was a partner at a New York City warehouse and grading business called Ward & Foster and a member of the New York Produce Exchange. He married Emma Louise Thompson on November 12, 1869. They initially lived in Brooklyn with Charles's sister Harriet and her husband John Seeley Ward. They would eventually have 3 children, Ward and Charles Jr., both whom passed away before the age of 3, and then Carolyn Rose. Unfortunately, by 1878, Emma was suffering from tuberculosis. In an effort to improve her health, the Fosters decided to seek fresh air out in the country, which led them to rent the Willows for 3 consecutive seasons. It was during her travels to South Carolina that Emma passed away in 1880. After Revere's death, his widow sold the Willows and the 88-acre property to Charles. He took an avid interest in the farmstead that surrounds the Willows and developed the farm into a noted Jersey cattle breeding farm, introducing several innovations, farming techniques, while commuting by train to the city. Carolyn Foster was just 4 years old when her father bought Fosterfields. She grew to reject the traditional feminine occupations expected of a young girl at the turn of the century, probably because, in her case, they were not expected. Thus, she learned to hunt, fish, perform manual labor, and do carpentry work. Carolyn learned the business of farming from her father and took over the property after his death in 1927. Very close with her father's youngest sisters, Alice and Emma Phelps Foster, who lived in Connecticut and spoiled her during visits. Alice and Emma both remained unmarried and without any direct heirs donated their enormous real estate holdings in Connecticut to the state. This gift, totaling about 1,400 acres, became one of the largest state parks in Connecticut. Miss Foster's business sense, her interest in history, both local and family, her love of home and open, unspoiled countryside, along with the example set by her aunts Alice and Emma, influenced her plans regarding her estate. In March of 1958, a letter sent by Russell Myers, then Secretary-Director of the Morris County Park Commission, initiated a 20-year friendship that included many long talks about what might become of the house and farm that Carolyn loved so well. True to her nature, however, she made no snap judgments, waiting until 1972 to donate 120 acres of land for what it had evolved from Myers' initial suggestion into a proposal to make Fosterfields a living historical farm where agricultural practices of the late 19th century could be pursued. In the 43 years since her passing, a program of restoration and interpretation was established to advance the public's awareness and appreciation and understanding of the social, agricultural, and architectural history of the Morristown area from the period 1880 to 1930. This led the Park Commission to hire a preservation architect to prepare a historic structures report for the house in 1983. The HSR guided the phased restoration of the Willows to its 1900s appearance, which took place from 1986 to 1989. Here are just a few of the images taken during the restoration of the home. Today, the Willows survives as a rare, predominantly unaltered example of a mid-19th century architecture, having experienced little change since its construction in the 1850s. As the conditions observed in the 1983 HSR changed through both corrective interventions and the continuation of natural forces of wear and deterioration on the historic fabric, an update to the HSR was completed in 2015 by E2 Project Management. The updated report serves as a comprehensive document providing guidance and recommendations for the continued preservation and stewardship of the building. Although near enough to Morristown by horse and wagon, Fosterfields was an isolated environment for a small child with no siblings. Carolyn recalled, "My greatest joy was to sit by the side of the road from Jacob Arnold's and watch the world go by in buggies, farm wagons, a horse, and a foot." The original entrance to Fosterfields was lined by a stone wall running along the driveway and a rustic Gothic arch, typical of the romantic spirit that informed Revere's taste and still survive on site today. The main portion of the home is a modified Greek cross in plan and contains the principal rooms. A 1 1/2 story small slate gabled roof wing with a painted brick chimney is attached on the northeast corner and contains service functions. The main portion has a cross gable slate roof, 4 painted brick chimneys, narrow wood lap siding, wood double hung windows and doors. Each chimney is corbelled and capped with terracotta pots. With 27 windows and 6 doors throughout the structure, including an oriel window on the northeast facade on the second floor and 2 3-sided bays projecting from the house on the northwest and southwest elevations. All are capped with Gothic drip moldings.